Greetings, traveler. It is the common case in the games industry for any new project when it's starting to hire a bunch of game developers and essentially keep paying them full time as the game goes through its prototype phase and its main development cycle. However, I think that's a terrible idea. So today I'm going to talk about that and what you can do instead. My name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 10 years now, and I've seen time and time again studio managers, studio leaders, company owners, and so on complain non-stop essentially about how expensive game development is. The main reason for that, of course, is because, well, at some point you're going to need programmers, and programmers could be working on a video game or could be working for fintech and make applications that trade money, that make lots and lots of money for their owners. So it would then follow that the salaries of those programmers should also be high. So having someone who has that opportunity, that option, work in a game project right from the beginning will mean essentially that from day one, from month one, you will have to pay something like $100,000 per year or about $10,000 per month for every single programmer who works full-time on your game. And the situation is not much different when you're looking at game designers, artists, sound designers, and so on, because those are actually all very technical skills, and much more, they are even rare skills to find someone who has the right expertise for the game you want to make. So hiring the full team right from the get-go and having them work on the game is, of course, good for the progress of the game, but financially it's a nightmare. Before even the game makes its first dollar, you will have maybe something up to $1 million in debt in the game, which is money that's, arguably hard to come by. So what can you do instead? Well, I'll give you what I have done in my experience to get a project started and to prevent the situation of, let's say, putting the cart before the horse, as the saying goes. So by putting the cart before the horse, I mean, first you hire all these very expensive people, and then you see if you can make something that worthwhile with them. I think doing it in this order is not the best way to go about it. It's much better to have a product that seems promising, that people already seem to like, that you didn't spend a huge fortune developing already. And then if people are playing the game and you want to expand the market and you want to make more cool features and so on, or make a second game in the same series and so on, then it would make more sense to hire more people, because then you already have the guaranteed, quote unquote, guaranteed audience that already wants your product. So how would you approach it in a more practical way? Well, in my opinion and in my experience, what I have done is, instead of hiring someone full-time right from the get-go, why not instead find someone who can do it as a project? So let's say you have an idea for a game and let's say you have no programming ability yourself, or it's very limited. If you have any programming ability yourself, you can already make a simple prototype. It doesn't need graphics. It just needs to satisfy your particular requirements for the game and prove it to yourself that this is fun enough of a project to go forward with. Now, if you don't have this ability, you can find someone who will develop the game for you. And if it's a prototype, we're not talking about a very large project, right? So it's quite limited in its scope. You can create the game design document for that, or if it's someone you work very closely with, you can just tell them directly what you want to be made and decide on a price for it. And the price for something like that should be certainly less than $10,000 per month, namely because, well, it probably wouldn't take 1 month for somebody experienced to create the simple prototype you have in mind. Now, where would that money come from? Usually the money for that can come from your savings, or it has come from my savings, or perhaps there is some other external source that you have for money. In this case, perhaps it's two people working together on a game, so one person puts in the effort and the game development skill set, and the other person puts in the starting budget for the game, or it can be an agreement for a partnership. There's many options here, but the point is that that beginning amount of money is something that a person could provide on their own, just with their own savings, right? So if you have a look at Fiverr or Malt or any of these online freelancer websites, you can find people who are very skilled, who will take on a side project mainly for the fun of it and mainly because they want to do something different and challenging, and the price they charge is very, very reasonable. Because they would only use a few hours of their time, they would only need to be paid just a small fraction of those hypothetical $10,000 per month to do the work that you're asking them. So when you do it this way, when you spend this very, very limited, very targeted and focused budget to create the prototype of the game, or just the MVP, the minimum viable product of the game, so something that proves to the market that this is good enough to be desirable, right? So when you have that and you have an idea of how people like it and how much they would want to see more of your game, then it makes a lot more sense to make an informed decision about how many people you would need to hire, how many of them would need to be full-time, what expected sales do you get. So for example, if with that first version of the game you made, you sold it to 100 people for, I don't know, $10 each, and now you want to sell it to 1 million people, and of course for that you would need more work on the game and setting up the store and so on, and you need people to work to help you with that. Then you can start having a rough idea of the possible money that you could make for all this and how much money would make sense to spend to get to that point. So you're never overspending and you're never overcommitting to people, because of course it wouldn't make sense to hire someone full-time and then close the studio 2 months later, because you know, it doesn't make sense to continue like this. So it avoids that situation. It gets you what you want with a very limited budget, and actually quite quickly, because people who work in this respect, when you work on a project basis, it makes sense for the people working on that project to finish it as quickly as possible because they want to be paid as quickly as possible. So there's very good motivations to do things like that, essentially in the beginning when you're starting out, and it gives you a quick way to validate your idea, validate your game concept, and see how you want to continue with the game going forwards, maybe switching to a new type of game, something more promising, or if it is promising, going full on and hiring all these amazing people and making amazing games. Anyway, if you're thinking that this is an interesting way to start out development without getting money from a publisher or from an investor or breaking the bank, if it's your case, then do share it with someone who's interested in this topic, and please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have fun.